Sudden. Terrifying. Deadly. There's something truly haunting about watching an aircraft, one of humanity's greatest technological achievements, lose control and fall from the sky. In today's video, we'll be looking at some of the most shocking and tragic airplane crashes ever caught on camera. From commercial giants to small private planes and cargo flights gone wrong. These are moments where everything changed in the blink of an eye. July 6, 2013, San Francisco International Airport. Asiana Airlines, Flight 214, a Boeing 777 carrying 307 people, was approaching runway 28L after a routine 11-hour flight from Seoul, South Korea. The weather was perfect. Visibility was clear. But as the massive wide-body jet descended toward the runway, something was terribly wrong. The pilots had mismanaged the aircraft's auto-throttle system, inadvertently deactivating the automatic speed control. The plane was coming in too low, too slow. At just 106 knots, nearly 30 knots below the recommended approach speed, the aircraft slammed into a seawall at the edge of the runway. The impact tore the tail clean off the fuselage. The main landing gear collapsed. The Boeing 777 cartwheeled down the runway, spinning 330 degrees before sliding to a stop in a cloud of dust and smoke. Passengers evacuated down emergency slides as flames consumed parts of the wreckage. 3 teenage girls were killed, 2 of them ejected from the aircraft when the tail section broke away. Nearly 200 others were injured. The crash ended the Boeing 777's 18-year fatality-free record and became one of the most dramatic survivable crashes ever captured on film. March 23, 2009, just before dawn at Tokyo's Narita International Airport, FedEx Flight 80, a McDonnell Douglas MD-11 cargo jet, was completing an overnight delivery run from Guangzhou, China. The 2 pilots on board were experienced. The aircraft was fully loaded, but as they approached runway 34L, the weather was deteriorating rapidly. Winds were gusting at 40 knots. Wind shear warnings had been issued. The first officer attempted to land, but the approach was unstable from the start. The aircraft touched down hard, bounced, touched down again, bounced higher. On the 3rd bounce, the MD-11's nose gear struck the runway with catastrophic force. The left wing fractured. The aircraft rolled violently to the left, flipping completely upside down before slamming into the runway in a massive fireball. Both pilots were killed instantly. The wreckage burned for hours, the twisted fuselage barely recognizable. Investigators later found that the MD-11 had a dangerous tendency to become uncontrollable during hard landings. February 17, 2025, Toronto Pearson International Airport, Delta Connection, Flight 4819, a Bombardier CRJ-900 regional jet, was on final approach from Minneapolis with 80 people aboard. A winter storm had just passed through the region. Winds were gusting to 40 miles per hour, but the runway was clear. The airport was operational. As the aircraft crossed the threshold, something went catastrophically wrong. The plane was descending too fast, over 1,100 feet per minute. 3 seconds before touchdown, an alarm blared. High rate of descent. The right main landing gear struck the runway and immediately fractured. The gear collapsed. The right wing hit the pavement, fuel spray igniting in a massive flash. The CRJ rolled to the right, flipped completely inverted, and slid down the snowy runway on its back, leaving a trail of fire and debris. Passengers hung upside down in their seats, surrounded by flames and smoke. Miraculously, all 80 people survived, but 21 were injured, some critically. Witnesses described the horrifying scene: the plane upside down, fire pouring from the fuselage, passengers climbing out into the freezing Canadian winter. The crash became one of the most dramatic survivable accidents in recent aviation history, captured in stunning detail by airport surveillance cameras. November 4th, 2025. Just after 5 p.m. at Louisville's Muhammad Ali International Airport, home to UPS's massive Worldport cargo hub, UPS Flight 2976, a 34-year-old McDonnell Douglas MD-11 freighter, was preparing for a routine cargo flight to Honolulu with 3 crew members aboard. The aircraft was loaded with up to 20,000 packages and 38,000 gallons of fuel. As the massive jet accelerated down runway 17R, everything seemed normal. But moments after rotation, disaster struck. The left engine, a massive General Electric turbofan, suddenly separated from the wing. The 9,000-pound engine ripped free from its mounting, tumbled up and over the wing, and slammed into the ground below. The aircraft, now critically unbalanced and missing a third of its thrust, struggled to gain altitude. It barely cleared 30 feet. Seconds later, the jet slammed into a UPS warehouse, shearing off part of the roof. It then struck a fuel depot, igniting a massive fireball. The aircraft cartwheeled through an auto scrapyard before disintegrating in a half-mile debris field. All 3 pilots were killed instantly. 12 people on the ground also lost their lives, including workers and shoppers who never saw it coming. The crash triggered the immediate grounding of every MD-11 aircraft in the United States, a fleet already under scrutiny for structural issues. It remains one of the deadliest cargo plane crashes in U.S. history, and one of the most horrifying ever captured on camera. 2022, a small regional airport in California, a Cessna 172 Skyhawk, one of the most common training aircraft in the world, was on final approach to land. The pilot had been cleared to land. The runway was clear. But moments earlier, a Robinson R-44 helicopter had departed from the same runway. The helicopter climbed away, its powerful rotor blades generating an invisible vortex of swirling air behind it. Helicopter wake turbulence is wildly misunderstood. It doesn't just drop straight down like jet wash. It spreads outward in all directions, lingering for minutes. As the small plane crossed over the departure end of the runway, it flew directly into the helicopter's wake. The effect was instant. The aircraft's left wing dipped sharply, slamming into the runway. The Cessna cartwheeled, tumbled, and came to rest in a crumpled heap just beyond the threshold. The pilot survived with only minor injuries, but the aircraft was destroyed, a total loss. The dramatic crash was captured by airport surveillance cameras and quickly went viral, garnering over 1.3 million views. It served as a stark reminder. Wake turbulence isn't just a problem with jumbo jets. Even a small helicopter can take down an airplane if pilots aren't careful. February 4th, 2015. Taipei, Taiwan. TransAsia Airways Flight 235, an ATR 72-600 turboprop, departed Taipei Songshan Airport at 10:52 a.m., bound for the offshore island of Kinmen. On board were 53 passengers and 5 crew members. The flight should have been routine, a short 45-minute hop across the Taiwan Strait. But just 37 seconds after takeoff, an alarm sounded in the cockpit. The number 2 engine had malfunctioned, triggering an automatic shutdown. The plane was designed to fly on one engine. This shouldn't have been a catastrophe. But in a moment of fatal confusion, the captain shut down the wrong engine. He mistakenly cut power to the still-functioning number 1 engine, leaving the aircraft with no thrust at all. The ATR-72 climbed to just 1,630 feet, then began falling from the sky. The captain desperately tried to restart the engines, but it was too late. The aircraft descended over downtown Taipei, banking almost 90 degrees to the left. Its left wing clipped an elevated highway, striking a taxi and shearing off in a shower of debris. Moments later, the aircraft slammed into the shallow key